Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of AQS Quilting Stars. I'm so excited to be coming from Paducah, Kentucky, Quilt City, USA, to share straight into your home an interview with my friend and the amazing quilt maker, Cindy Needham. Cindy, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm glad to be back with you.
Oh, I'm so glad to see you too. I miss everybody and I miss seeing you at the shows. And you and I were just sort of chatting before we started recording about how everybody, AQS and yourself and other teachers all around, are sort of having to reinvent their process.
Yes, definitely. It's been hard.
Yeah,
It's been hard.
it's been a struggle for everybody, but tell me what you're doing and what you're working on now.
Well, how I'm doing? I'm doing better than I was back in March, like everybody else. I had a really hard time with having an empty studio,
Mhm.
having to cancel some really special engagements that were coming up. I was set to go to Germany. I mean, it was a trip of a lifetime gone.
Gosh.
Another wonderful big engagement in Colorado gone. My studio ladies were all gone. And it was like, well, it
Yeah, it's
was
so disappointing.
mentally, it was a big struggle.
Mhm.
So I spent the first 2 months cleaning the studio, repainting, reorganizing, and waiting for my ladies to come back. And they didn't, which was hard. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're finally starting to come back, and I'm feeling better. The
good.
retreat's going again, and I am learning how to do things here at home, but I desperately miss being in the classroom, having
Mhm.
that human contact. I've had some offers to teach online, and I've turned it down
Sure.
because when I was doing my Facebook videos, it was great because I could do the prep. I got everything ready, and I turned off the camera, and my classroom was empty. There wasn't anybody there, and it was like, I don't think I want to do that again. I know I've got
Yeah.
to learn, I've got to change, but it's hard not having that face to face touchy thing in the classroom.
Yeah, you're right. Because a big part of that for a lot of the teachers I've spoken with and read comments on Facebook and things are that you get to talk with your students and find out what they're working on and what they're having for lunch and what they're excited about, you know? And
Yeah.
to be missing out on that is a big element of the whole experience. I know a lot of our instructors are working on online content now, and we're working on online content as well. And so we're excited to be able to bring something virtual and new into people's homes. And
Hmm.
we're adapting. We're all adapting, and we're going to make it. We're going to survive, and we're going to thrive, I believe. So I'm excited that you at least got to redo that studio. Can we see some of that?
Oh no, I'm home.
Oh,
I've got these at the, I'm in my little sewing room at home.
oh, well, let's look at your sewing room.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna move around a little bit, so I hope I don't make people ill. I'll try not
That's all
to go
right.
around too much. So my studio is a 10 by studio, my sewing room at home. It's a 10 by 10-foot space. It's little. And I love vintage antique rough stuff. So my thread wall, I found some vintage shutters at the antique store. And you know those thread stand it was my door donger. Um, those thread stands you get at Joann's, those little wooden ones, I ripped them apart and my husband stapled them to the vintage shutters. So I have a whole wall of thread on my vintage shutters, which kind of makes it cool. So underneath that, I'm going to go down a little bit. I got to show you my old Juki, my old lady. She's now 21 years old, and I'm hoping this will show up. And if you look by the take up lip, you see where the paint's coming off and down at the bottom. We've got rust. I think there's millions of miles on this poor machine. But she's still hobbling along and she still works and gives me a beautiful stitch, knock on wood. And we go up, and I've got, you probably won't be able to see them, but I got some big baskets in the corner because I love baskets and containers, and those are all my UFOs. And then I've got some old printer boxes that hold my heavier weight silk, my tire silk, my 30 and 50 weight silks. And I won't be able to show up at my window. I've got a second Juki below that for piecing. Okay, there she is, sitting in front of my window. So that's just for piecing. I've got a little log cabin quilt going on there now for a friend for housewarming. And then on this last wall, you'll see I've got a bunch of containers. And I've got baskets and a bunch of metal bins, and this is what holds my fabric. I know I used to hold my fabric. I had it on this shelf. It was color sorted. I'd make something and then it was a huge mess. So now I'm trying to straighten this out. I can't see. Okay, so all the fabric is labeled. They're in bins as far as colors and types. So if I'm making something and I don't want to be neat, I just throw it back in the bin. Next time I take the bin out, then I'll straighten it out. And then, la-di-la-di-la. Okay, I found an antique, they call it a lid rack at the antique store. Perfect for my rulers and mats. So that holds all of my rulers and little things. And then below that, I've got, let me move my chair again. I've got my cutting table, and I'm gonna blind you for a minute because I want to show you that I've got some wire LED lights underneath my shelf that lights up my whole cutting space.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah, and that works. And then I have one of those little fold out accordion things above that that holds all my scissors and rotary cutters. And doobie-doo, trying to show it here. The quilts that I was going to show you are covering up my dresser. I've got an old dresser that I've got an ironing board on top of, an ironing spot. So that's where I do all my ironing. But I preset some quilts over that to show you a few things that I'm working on. And that's my
wonderful
10 by 10 foot space, every half inch.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you have used up every little piece of space in that room.
Every little piece of space.
I love that space because it's very you. It's very, like, I love all the little antique touches and how creative you were with all of that. The thread on the shutters looks so nice, and it's very homey and very, I guess warm is the feeling that it gives me. That's a really nice space. And so you said that your studio you redid. Now, how is that different? Do you have, what do you do in your studio, and where is that?
It's a dedicated space. It's across town. It's in the same building as my daughter's bakery.
Oh.
So we've got the bakery on one side of the building, and we have the studio on the other. My ladies love it.
I would be such a mess because I'd be like, I'm just going to run over for a cookie real quick. It's not a big deal. It's just one. And then it would happen twice a day, every day.
Well, what's funny, because Emily always has cool things over there, and somebody will go over and get something, and she goes, oh, look what she has. And 10 women race across.
Exactly right. I'm sure that gives her great business. That's a perfect little combination there.
It does. We're trying to support her during all of this, trying to keep her in business. So she's hanging in.
Good for you.
But the studio I set up, I have private groups that rent it, ladies that come there every month, every week. Everybody has keys. They let themselves in, let themselves out, clean it up when they leave, lock it up. And it's our safe place from the world.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
It's awesome. So I'm teaching workshops there. I'm doing studio retreats there. This is part of my reinventing myself. Since I'm not traveling anymore, the workshops are being moved here. And I'm doing studio retreats because my retreaters liked it better there than they did at one of the other venues. They said, we don't want to go back. We want to stay here.
Well, when there's a bakery just a few feet away, how can you even compare?
You're
how
right.
Nice.
You're right.
Well, I'm glad you have that space, and I'm glad you have that to work on. Can you show us some of those quilts that you're working on now?
I can, but I wanted to show the little girls that I've been doing and selling off of my website, where I'm taking small hankies and linens, quilting the snot out of them, framing them. So I'm getting ready to get a bunch of them ready for sales for Christmas again, like I did last year. So this one is quilted. I still need to do the beadwork and trim it and get it framed.
And for those who don't know at home, who maybe aren't as familiar with your work, you work with antique linens, is that right?
Yes, yes.
So can you tell us like the different kinds of things that you use?
Oh, anything old. Tablecloths, dresser scarves, hankies, coasters, you name it. I've got a closet full of it. And so actually these little girls, there's so many people that want them or want to do them. That's one workshop I'm going to add to the studio. I'm going
Oh,
to,
how nice.
yeah, so I'm going to test it out next month. And if it goes well, then it'll be a 2-day workshop. And I'll have the frames, I'll have parts and pieces and linens and rotary cutters, and I'm going to teach people how to do them.
Well, great, great. Okay, so all those of you at home who are watching know that these are made from those antique linens.
Yes, parts and pieces. And then this was another one. So this particular tablecloth had lots of parts and pieces, was damaged, so I had no problem cutting it up. So I still need to go in and do all the handwork on it. I'm just getting on these again because it's been a crazy year. One new thing that I've been doing, and I've been thrown under the bus just a little bit for it, is I'm doing pieced linen quilts where I'm cutting linens apart. And let me pull this down a little bit. Sorry, trying to get more of it in the screen. Okay, so there we are. This block was part of a tablecloth. There were 12 squares, so I cut all the 12 squares out. So we've got the pieced block that goes with the part of the linen, and I've made a pieced linen quilt. I'm loving this. It's giving me something new to do and looking at the linens a different way.
That's absolutely lovely, and that is different from what we usually see from you, which is whole cloth. I love the different colors that you're able to bring into that, and the light purples are so beautiful, and the piecing. It's exciting that you're doing something new there. A lot of us have tried new things lately.
I've needed to, and not that I was getting bored with whole cloth, but one of my goals lately has been to get better at piecing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a great quilter, but a terrible piecer. I'm getting better.
Well, good for you. That's all that matters is getting better, trying something a
I'm
little bit
getting
different.
points. I'm so excited. And these were the corner of a tablecloth, and I'm working on for another quilt, but I put all 4 blocks, and then I'm going to show my students how they can use the ultimate medallions to go over things and through things. And it's going to be a great teaching quilt, learning how to design with the larger stencils.
Absolutely. And I want to pause really quickly and tell folks that you have a whole collection of ultimate stencils for quilting, and we have many different sets of those on our website on shopaqs.com. And I think we also have the ebook of your linen quilts, your whole cloth linen quilts book as well available. And so anybody who's out there who would like to learn more or try these quilting methods for yourself, you can get those on Shop AQS. And if you're an AQS member, you get 20% off of anything on there. If you're not an AQS member, you can join now by going to americanquilter.com/join. We are running a special where if you join now for $20 for the year, you get a $20 Shop AQS gift card where you can get some of those stencils, and you'll get a free gift. So the membership pays for itself. You'll get all kinds of exclusive content like patterns and information on our website. It's definitely something that you want to check out. So Cindy, show us your next quilt.
Okay. All right. So this one, and can you see that?
Yeah.
This is very different for me, and I sort of got, tingles on the back of my neck when I did this. I took a vintage baby dress with beautiful lace skirt, and I cut it up into strips. Kind of your neck zings a little bit. And then this was the pink was a vintage party dress type thing. So I stabilized it, and I'll have to give a shout out to Quilter Select. They have a fabulous stabilizer called Fabric Prep that I've fallen in love with. And it's perfect for these delicate fabrics and linens. And then I sewed them together into a rail fence type of pattern. I'm going to hand quilt with the large type stitches with the gray silk through the pink. You can't see it here, but I've got this on Radiance, and I've got a very detailed quilting pattern in the corner. And even the lace border on this was the bottom of a petticoat. So I went through my vintage clothing, the whole basket of it, Nobody's going to wear a petticoat. Nobody's going to wear that ucky party dress. The baby dress was pretty, but that lace was gorgeous. And that's been tucked away for, how many years, and nobody's ever seen it. So now it can become a beautiful quilt.
That's so amazing. I love how you reuse those fabrics to make something
I don't think
beautiful.
I get that. There we go. Yeah. So I'm trying different stuff. Uh,
Absolutely. Can I ask a quick question? People at home are going to wonder, where do you get all of your vintage linens and clothing?
Antique stores, Etsy, and then I have had so many people that will go, here, and they give them to me, and I go, oh, thank you.
That's
And so I
wonderful.
go through and pick out what I want, and then I pass forward the rest of it. A lot of it to my studio ladies, other linen ladies that use things, so they do find good homes.
All right.
Okay, next one is, and I'm going to show this in two parts. This block was there was these great cool little trees on a banquet king size huge tablecloth. So I cut out the little trees. The fabric is the Japanese yarn dyed fabrics, gorgeous fabrics, all woven. And I made these cool little star blocks. I have points, just saying. I'm getting better at my piecing. I was very proud of those. There's a few missing, but that just keeps me humble.
Good for you.
And so then I've got, the blue blocks in between. So it's, again, a piece linen quilt, but I wanted to, this was on another quilt. See this hanging sleeve? This
Oh my
hanging sleeve, you can see
goodness.
those little trees. This is part of that same tablecloth. I cut off that whole section of it and then made a hanging sleeve for the back of the first quilt that I showed. So you can use parts on the back too.
Oh, it seems so lovely and too pretty to be on the back. I can't imagine having like that skill and everything and putting it on the back, but it works so nicely and it's really beautiful.
You and I both know everybody looks at the back of your quilt.
That is
They
so
do.
right. You and I know, and we have had lots of people trying to flip those quilts over at the shows before, so we definitely
And when
know.
I've helped you at the shows with the hanging and taking it down, we're always looking at the back. So this is just a quick shot of this one. And then the last one I wanted to show you, and I just put this one on my Facebook page too. And this is, doobie-doo. Let me do it this way. Okay, this is a whole cloth linen quilt. And this was actually, when we were going through COVID, I lost my creativity. I could not create design. I couldn't do anything. And I finally forced myself. And I pulled out this linen that has tested me for years. Said I have to do it. It took me all day. I must have erased 100 times. But I finally found my creativity again. It's been a tough few months like everybody else, but it's got beautiful corners on it. So I've been in the middle of doing all the detail work. Something new that I'm doing. Come on, baby. Now I'm pulling the designs out to the underlayment. So it will extend. So I'm pulling everything from the inside to the outside. So I've still got a couple more weeks on this. And there are some close-up photos on my Facebook page.
Oh, how wonderful. Yes, I think it's really creative how you've pulled the design out there into the underpiece. And I have to comment about that. We, myself included, all went through a sort of head in the sand period of time when all of this started. During the summer, I just felt so uninspired and uncreative, and I didn't know what to do with my time. And everybody out there should know that that's normal when you're going through just a collective worldwide traumatic event. That's normal. So be kind to yourself. And then when you're able to be creative again, something beautiful and new can come out of it. And so it's so nice that you'll be able to look back, Cindy, at that quilt and know that you overcame something and that you made something out of maybe a more sad and a more difficult time.
Yes, definitely. And I've had some of my retreat ladies saying the same thing. They're just, the creativity is gone. And then once I heard them say that, I went, yeah, that's me too.
Yeah,
That's me too.
it really is a lot of us. And I think that it's okay to feel that and acknowledge that. And I hope that these videos will inspire people out there to see something and go, oh, that's kind of cool. I'd like to try that. Or that reminds me of something that I hadn't finished. Maybe I'll just go finish that. Alex Anderson gave us some good advice not too long ago that said, just sew. It doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter if it's a big project, just sew something. And I don't know about you, but just getting started on something might lead to more things, or at least give you a little bit of peace for a little while you work on something you love.
Well, you know, what I found is I'm always under a deadline. I was
Yeah.
under a deadline, and you worked on what you had to do to get done. And since COVID hit and all my deadlines disappeared and the creativity disappeared and the depression was there, like everybody else, I decided to only work on things that gave me pleasure.
Yes. That's
And
so important.
I started so many projects, and some of them frustrated me, and I went, oh, out of here, set it aside. Okay, what's going to make me happy today? And I would pull out or start something, and I'm still doing that. And I find that I do my best work on something if I'm in my happy spot working on it.
That's absolutely right. And that's such good advice for everyone watching, because if you're not enjoying it, you're not going to want to do it. And before, when it felt like our lives were so dictated by the calendar and the clock and have this done by a certain time, that was our motivation, right? It has to be done by this, or something negative is going to occur.
Terrible thing.
Right. And so instead of being driven by worry about negative consequences, or being driven by the watch on our hands, we are having to learn how to be driven by our own passion and by our own joy. And to me, that's a really positive thing that's come out of this, is we're having to dig deep inside and think, okay, what makes me happy? What makes me excited? What makes me feel creative? And do that thing. So whatever it is, even if it's not something that you've ever done before, just do it and see what happens. And if it's not perfect, who cares?
And there's nobody here to look at it anyhow.
Right. There's no quilt police. We've always said that. So just make something you love.
No, I get it. And it's like, okay, there's no judge and jury here.
Yep.
So what? I can throw it away and nobody's going to care.
Well, Cindy, I want to ask you, you mentioned your Facebook page and your website. Where can people go to take a look at more of what you're doing?
Facebook is a good place. A lot of people ask to be my friend. Don't be my friend. Just follow.
Sure.
I don't have time to be friends. I did a whole bunch of Facebook videos this summer, and they're hard to find on Facebook because there's so much there. So you just go to my website, and it's cindyneedham.com. Go to my blog. I put all my videos on my blog, so you don't have to go on Facebook videos to find them. There's great handouts there, downloads, instruction. I keep it very real. There's something that happens on every single video, but that keeps it interesting. People stay tuned. Well, I wonder what she's going to do now.
Absolutely. Well, good.
Yeah.
What should they search on Facebook?
Just my name.
Just your name, Cindy Needham. Okay, perfect. I didn't know if it was under a company name or anything.
No, just me.
Great.
And so I'm posting things that I'm doing. As far as new things coming up, I've had some requests to do some whole cloth patterns where people can put them together. And I went, okay, I've got 4 done. They take an indecent amount of time, but they're designed for the medallions. They're on 2 pages. They fit. There's 3 to 4 borders for each one. They're already fudged to fit. Lay them down, match it up, and different design options. Each one comes with a 40-page book.
Oh, wow.
So those will be done by the end of the year.
Okay.
I've had requests to do PDF downloads if people just want the download. And I've also had requests for stencils. So I'm going to put them in stencil form.
Oh, cool.
And then my new really exciting thing is I've got a cool tool, and I can't talk about what it is yet.
Rats.
The first tool that I've been working on for 2 years failed a couple months ago. And I came up with something 50,000 times better.
Oh, wow.
It's produced. It should be out probably the first quarter of next year. I am very excited about. It's like, finally, I finally bought it.
Well, how
So that'll be,
exciting.
and I'll get in touch with you because you already saw a bunch of my stuff. So
Perfect. Well, if you're out there, be sure to check out Cindy Needham on Facebook and maybe get an alert for when that happens. Even though she won't share her secrets with us, you'll be able to see it when it comes out. And if you're watching and you enjoyed this video, be sure to click on Facebook or YouTube, wherever you're watching. There's a like button, there's a share button, and share with your friends so that they can be inspired too and see what's going on in the quilting world. Cindy, I've been having such a good time talking with you, and I appreciate you coming on today to talk with us. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention before we say goodbye?
no, I just miss everybody. I'm so ready to be back in the classroom.
Yes,
So,
you and me both. I am so looking forward to when we can do that again and touch quilts. You know, you let us touch your quilts. You let your students touch them and
yes,
feel
I
them.
do.
Yeah, that's one of your signature things is you get to touch those linen quilts, and it's so much fun to do it. So we look forward to when we can do that again. And until then, take care, and I look forward to seeing all the new things you create by the time we see each other again.
Right. Thank you. And say hi to Bonnie for me.
I will. Thanks, Cindy.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks, Liz. Bye.